Hi, this is Steffen for PokerVIP.com. I'm a counselor and a mental game coach for poker players. And today in this video I want to talk to you about what a good mindset in poker actually means. You know, I'm coaching a lot of poker players, and oftentimes when they first come to me, I ask them, now, what do you want out of this coaching? And many players just reply, well, I want to improve my mindset. I want to have a better mindset. And when I ask them then what it actually means to have a good mindset, I sometimes get really interesting answers, because a lot of players do not really have a very, how do I say that, not a good understanding of what a proper or really good mindset in poker actually looks like in practice. We often refer to someone having a really good mindset or a really bad mindset, but these are very broad terms. And if you look to improve your mental game, as I'd like to refer to it, then you obviously need to have a really good idea of what you actually need to improve in order to, get results in the real world. Now, to change this, today I want to show you some pillars, or what I want to say, the most important parts when it comes to developing a strong mindset in poker. There are different areas that are really fundamental that you absolutely need to improve when it comes to your mental game in poker. So to begin with, I would like to define what a mindset actually is. When we talk about mindset in psychology or, in the mental game area, we usually refer to someone's way of thinking or their opinions on something. And I personally like to address the mindset in terms of an attitude. Now, you have skills when it comes to your mental game, right? And to take it a notch above or a level higher, that's what I believe is your mindset. Your mindset is what guides your every decision at the poker table, and it's really a way of, it's kind of a software that you're running on, right? You have all these skills that you're employing on a daily basis, and behind these skills there's your mindset. There's your attitude about how you think about poker. It's the way you think about variance, about tilt, about focus, about attention. This is your mindset. What you have to understand is that your mindset is shaped by very different factors. First of all, there are your experiences in general. Now, we're all brought up in a different way, and we've all had different experiences throughout our lives. And what that means is that we all have a very different view of the world, and the same is really true for poker. So bear in mind that your mindset is highly influenced from your experience in the past and your present experiences. Then it is shaped by your beliefs. How do you believe poker should be? What do you believe a good poker player, what kind of qualities this poker player needs to have in order to have a good mindset? That's a belief. And obviously your environment. It's the people you talk to on a daily basis, it's your family, the media, the books you read, the videos you watch when it comes to improving your poker game. This all influences the way you think about poker. Now, the first pillar that I believe is really important when it comes to the mindset in poker is the way you deal with your own attention and your energy. This is, I believe, the most fundamental ingredient when it comes to developing mental toughness or a good mindset or a strong mental game, however you want to refer to it. So what does that mean? Well, what many players underestimate is their ability to influence their attention. And attention really is another word for focus. Now, I believe you would agree with me that having strong focus is really important for a poker player. Now, I want to ask you, what is your attitude towards focus? Is your attitude that you have a lot of leverage when it comes to your focus? Or is it something that people are born with? This is a good starting point, right? How do you think focus is trainable? Is it a skill that can be developed? Or is it something that's just there and you don't really have any chance of influencing your focus in general? Now, a strong mindset when it comes to attention management really is the idea or the concept that you have a large amount of influence over your focus. There are a lot of things you can do in order to improve your focus. That's what a really strong player with a strong mindset would think. This is an attitude that you have to develop, right? You have a responsibility towards your focus. And the same is true for energy in general. Many poker players seem to forget that they are competitors, that they are athletes in some kind, way, shape or form, I want to say. And what that means is that you need to have strategies in place in order to manage your energy well. And your energy refers to mental energy, which could be your focus. It also refers to physical energy. If you play long hours, if you want to grind in a lot of volume this month, you need to have a good attitude towards your energy, right? And this is where a lot of players go wrong. It's something so fundamental, but there are very few players in the world in general who have a high sense of responsibility for their own energy. If you don't have good energy at the table, you won't play good poker in the long term. So a good attitude or a good mindset towards energy would be that you think about recovery, both mental and physical. What can you do, what things can you do in order to recover mentally and physically so that you can play longer sessions, so that you're always sharp at the table, so that you can focus for a sustained period of time. This is the first pillar, right? So a person with a really strong mindset when it comes to attention and energy management is someone who takes a lot of responsibility for his own focus and for his own energy. Now you may ask, well, that doesn't really have to do anything with poker, but believe me, this is the absolute fundamental pillar, and if this is not in place, everything else is going to crumble. Now, the second one. I believe that professionalism in general is very underrated too. And this is again where your mindset comes into place, right? If you don't think like a pro about your game, chances are you are not going to get very far in general. Unfortunately, this is also very common among poker players. We're usually lazy people, and it's a game at the end of the day, right? And if you perceive it that way, it's usually not the best attitude towards poker. Because if poker is just some game for you, chances are your attitude towards this is not going to be very professional. Now, what is a professional attitude? You gotta be very cognizant about studying, about advancing your poker skills. Because as you know, poker is getting tougher by the day. And if you don't do enough on a daily basis, preferably, or at least a few hours every week in order to advance your poker game, your poker skills, you won't get very far at the end of the day. So I like to compare this to athletes again. That's what I tell my clients. Well, you have to perceive your poker like an athlete perceives its sport. If you want to be really good, if you want to make a lot of money with poker, you need to be very aware of how much you study, how much time you put in order to improve, in order to stay ahead of the curve, right? So, the third thing. How do you deal with emotions? I believe this is another huge topic and something that very few people in general have mastered. What's your attitude towards emotions in poker? We all know that tilt is a very prevalent phenomenon in poker. But what do you actually do? What's your attitude towards emotions at the table? Are emotions something bad? Is it something to be avoided? Do you have any control over your emotions? Do you have strategies in place? How you regulate your emotions when you're in the heat of the battle? Is there something that you can do? Those are questions that I would ask you if we were to define a good, strong mental game. Now, once you've answered these questions for yourself, we can take it a step further. So, what does a player with a strong mental game or a strong mindset do with their emotions? Now, obviously, I believe that people think differently in this aspect. Now, I'll give you my answer to this from my perspective and from my experience as a coach and a counseling psychologist in general. Now, if you have a strong mental game, then you know that you will have emotions. You know that you will tilt at some point, right? Everyone tilts at some point or another in their career. Sometimes it's less severe, sometimes it's more severe. Now, someone with a really strong mindset will again take a lot of responsibility for their emotions. They will make sure that they know what to do with their emotions. They will know when to quit a game, for example. They will accept the fact that they are no longer plus EV when they're really emotionally psyched up in the heat of the battle. This is a strength that only very few players have. And then these players usually have some kind of techniques and strategies in place that they can use in order to get back into the zone, as most players refer to it. Meaning they will know themselves so well that they kind of can calibrate their emotional state at every given moment, so that they know that they have to either downregulate or upregulate their emotions in order for them to play optimally. Now, these are all skills that need to be developed. The mindset or the attitude that's behind this is again knowing or taking responsibility for emotions and knowing that you can do something about it, that you have to educate yourself psychologically, that you will have to do a lot of work off the table, figuring out what kind of things trigger these emotions at the poker table. This is a process that can take a long time and that requires a lot of self-reflection. Now, very strong poker players that have a strong mindset, they do this work, right? They know how important it is to keep their cool at the table, so they will do everything off the table to ensure that they will be able to handle it properly when push comes to shove. This can often mean the difference between someone breaking even and someone being a huge winner if these players have problems controlling themselves, controlling their emotions at the table. And believe me, there's a lot of things that you can do. And maybe I'll be able to go into more detail, give you some more hands-on strategies in future videos on how to do that. For today, I just want to give you the last point that I believe is really important, or the last pillar for a good mindset. And that's, in my opinion, understanding and dealing with variance. This is another huge thing. Now, we all know that variance exists in poker, but the way we think about variance can differ a lot individually. Some people believe that they run really bad in general, or that they always lose flips, for example. And this is the way we think about variance, right? Again, it comes down to what your attitude towards variance is. Is it something that's generally against you? Is it unfair? Is variance just statistics for you? Now, good players usually have a very good grasp of what variance actually entails. Most players do not really realize how much of an impact variance can have on your game and for how long of a period you can actually run bad even though your poker is absolutely up to par. Now, a player with a strong mindset will educate himself on the statistics behind variance. They will more or less know what kind of things they can expect when it comes to a downswing, when it comes to just running bad. And then secondly, they know exactly what kind of factors they have control over when it comes to variance and what factors they don't have control over. They will do everything in their power to make sure that their poker skills are absolutely up to par, meaning they will consult other players, they will take coaching hours, and they will figure out that what they're going through right now is just a statistical reality, right? It's something that happens to everyone, and they know that their game is good and that they will go out of it. And obviously that helps them to take a step back. And this is actually the next thing. They are not overly attached to the results in poker. They're not overly attached to money in general as well. If you're overly attached to these things, you as a person, you with your identity will be at stake. And this is usually a very threatening thing psychologically, and this will lead you to make bad plays. Instead, what people with a strong mindset will do, they will think about variance and poker in general not as something that defines them. It's not the results that define them. What defines them is the process, is their skill development. They're focused on getting better as a poker player. They're focused on getting in the necessary volume in order to beat or minimize the luck factor that will always exist in poker. So to summarize, someone having a good understanding of variance, someone knowing what they can control and can't control when it comes to variance, someone who is always cognizant and conscious of their own skill level and their skill development, and someone who's not overly attached to variance, to money, to the actual outcomes. Someone who kind of perceives poker as a long session as opposed to just a bad streak, a bad downswing, running bad, etc. So I hope these 4 pillars gave you kind of an idea of what, from a meta perspective, really it means to have a good mindset. Because, as I said earlier, having a good mindset really comes down to thinking properly about poker, and then, in a second step, developing the right skills that will help you to actually put this in practice. It's more of a way of a belief system when it comes to your poker game that will, at the end of the day, determine if your mindset is good or bad in poker. So that's it from me today. I hope you enjoyed this video, you learned something, could take something away from it. Now, I want to encourage you to ask me questions in the comments, something you liked, critique, or something you would like to hear in future, or in general questions when it comes to your own mental game or your mindset issues in poker. So until then, see you the next time.